Hi, my name is David Lippold. I'm the Director of Photography for Houston Independent School District's Design, Media, and Online team. So you'd like to get a concept, tutorial, or message out to an audience via video, but you don't have a crew or studio. It doesn't have to be complicated or intimidating. Here are a few tips that will help you in your production. While it's common to hold your phone vertically, our delivery systems for video, like HISD TV, YouTube, and Vimeo, present video in a horizontal format. So as you'll see, filming vertically doesn't have quite as much real estate as filming horizontally. This is common practice in most cinematography. With all this added real estate, you can also put a diagram behind you or a visual. Nobody likes footage that's shaky and all over the place. It's pretty common nowadays to be able to get cheap stabilizers or small tripods for a fairly reasonable price. A perfect example is something like this. These are fairly common online. You can easily use them for a tabletop tripod, or you can hold them kind of like a selfie stick. But rather than having shaky, unstable footage, you just clamp it in. You can get a little more distance, and you can also stabilize your shot a little more. If you're in a bind and you don't have access to something like this, I've seen people use things as easy as a stool or a chair or a tabletop, and you could even stabilize it with something like a water bottle and take your shot there. Ideally, you'll want to film at eye level. So even if you're in a bind like this, you could stack some books up. And you can get a similar result. Lighting it. Lighting is another important aspect of video. What's the point of a video if you can't see what's going on? Lighting doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as easy as filming next to a window or even a lamp. A very common mistake is when you backlight yourself or your subject. I'm going to turn off this lamp to better illustrate that with my phone. So if I'm filming this way with the window behind me, you're going to see a lot of glare and some silhouetting. This is a really simple fix. If you know the proximity of your light source, simply adjust yourself for a much more appealing visual. If you find yourself in a bind where there's no available light, you can always use the flash setting or the backlight setting on your cell phone or device. Real quick, I'd like to pan you around what I'm doing just so you guys can get a gist of how simple it can be to light something. I have a simple lamp here. This is actually a reflector, but you can use the same thing with foam core or styrofoam. This is my camera setup, and to the left of me, this is just some windows. I have this one closed for the background, and this one open slightly to light me. Audio is essential. Some might even say it's considered more important than the visual itself. You can achieve great audio with a few simple tips. First, try to find a quiet setting that doesn't have a lot of traffic. Make sure all the windows are closed, the TV is off, and any music is off. Avoid filming directly under a fan or an AC unit or any kind of vent. Also be aware that large empty rooms tend to echo and reverb a lot. You can lessen this by either standing on a rug or standing close to curtains, or even draping a blanket over a chair near you. If you don't have access to anything like this, you can always put yourself in a little bit closer proximity to the camera so that the microphone isn't quite as far away. So for demonstrational purposes, I have done all the things that I've listed, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn everything on just so you guys can get a feel for how much audio can change. So with this, you get a better idea. Right now I'm kind of competing, and it's very distracting, and it's hard to hear what's going on. I have the TV on, I have the window open, and I have the AC vent. Even without the TV, it's still a little distracting with the window open next to me and the AC vent going on. Composition is another important aspect of video. To break it down simpler, it's best to just know your audience and film accordingly. If it's a one-to-one or a face-to-face verbal communication, you can afford to have the camera closer and focus more on the midsection here, and you don't have to worry too much about the background. If it's something where you're demonstrating something with your hands for an audience, you're going to want to be a little further out from the camera. But in this scenario, it's important to know what's behind you. You want to make sure there's nothing directly around your head that might be distracting or a lot of clutter. You may even have to dress your background a little bit to clean things up. Even in this background, I have a plant back there, a little lamp, and just a picture back there. But without being completely empty or too cluttered, it's a nice sound atmosphere. The concept of headroom is something else I'd like to illustrate. If you're filming yourself, you don't want to cut off your head or be too close or even have too much headroom, which is a pretty common mistake. Another thing about dressing the set, if you have some empty space, it's best to put a visual that pertains to what you're talking about, like an anchor chart or some kind of a poster behind you. Additionally, you may want to look into a term called the rule of thirds for a more flattering composition. Even just jotting down a few rough ideas beforehand helps you not only to rehearse somewhat, but just have your ideas organized. This helps keep all your ideas succinct and to the point. A script can be as easy as just a few bullet points or even jotting a few ideas down on your cell phone. Working alongside DMOL means that you'll have a team putting all your footage together for you. There's a few simple things that'll help speed along the process. One of the main things is to take your time. Make sure you have nice pauses in between sentences or ideas so that we can make cuts there. The other thing is, since you'll be filming yourselves, you'll want to make sure that it's not too long-winded and to make sure to take breaths and stop, and you can always just start and stop as needed. Also, shorter clips are generally easier to work with than long-winded videos with lots of flubs and breaks. If you mess up, you can simply just start over again. So be sure to take your time, take breaks, and start and stop as needed. Relax and be yourself. Chances are you're in this position because of your expertise, qualifications, and personality. While it's important to maintain a professional appearance, your audience will appreciate a more sincere message if it comes across more naturally. Feel free to use your hands and talk like you normally would. Have fun with it. Your audience will appreciate a light and comfortable mood. A common question is where to look in the camera. For an instructional video, you'll want to look directly at the lens. It's pretty common for people to look at the monitor rather than the lens. I don't know if you see that, but if I continue talking to you even a little further off camera, it doesn't feel as personable as if I'm talking directly to the lens. I can also illustrate this on a phone because that's pretty common. Phones reflect an image at you. So if you're looking at the image, it looks slightly different than if you adjusted and you're looking directly at the lens. Remember to smile and even throw in a joke every once in a while. Your audience will appreciate a light and comfortable mood. So it's important to look at the lens, especially when you're being verbal or communicating directly with the audience. There are scenarios though where you may want to reference an object that you'll be picking up or know in proximity to what you're pointing at on an anchor chart. In these scenarios, you can refer to the monitor or your cell phone, but just make sure you come back and continue engagement with the lens itself. Maintaining eye contact will yield for a much better video, especially if you're doing something instructive and using different materials. It's common for people to get caught up, and the audience gets lost with that when you're not coming back up for eye contact. Also, it can create a lot of noise if it might be papers or something like that. So you make sure you want to settle, even if you're still holding it, Settle what you're doing and make sure you look up and maintain eye contact when you're communicating. Okay, so hopefully these few tips will make it easier for you to make more engaging and appealing videos for your audiences. Remember to keep it light and have fun with it. Like any art form, video is a creative process with endless possibilities. So take this opportunity to open yourself to new ideas and enjoy the creative process.